be good for the 4th.
I'll still wish you
We're,
that too.
6:30 here, so I move to open the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting of December 21st, 2022. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have the December 7th meeting minutes to vote on. I gave you a couple of things late this afternoon.
Yes,
Had you
several
already had
commissioners
those?
did. Yep, so I made the edits.
Okay, does anyone have anything to add at this point? In that case, I move that we vote to approve the 12/7/2022 minutes as edited. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I don't have a real address. I will just reiterate that we are still in a hybrid meeting mode, and should anything go wrong technologically, we will continue here in this room. The tape can be accessed after the fact. Business items. Number 1 is a de minimis activity for 261 Ridge Road, a generator shed. I just have a question about this. I
Yes.
know the building commissioner appears to be okay with this,
Yes.
but it just seemed odd to me that this shed is just going to be sitting on blocks.
Yeah, apparently because of the size, it can just sit on blocks, according to the applicant and the building commissioner. We have yet to receive comments from the building commissioner for this meeting.
Yeah, I didn't see any.
Yeah.
Well, if he has indicated that he does not have an issue, I move that we vote to approve the prefabricated steel shed as a de minimis activity.
Chair Hannafin, if I may. I believe that would be covered as seek all pertinent permits as well.
Exactly,
So,
that's what I'm
yeah.
thinking, yeah. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next de minimis is 450 Ocean Street. This is a replacement of 2 footings on a deck. The existing concrete footings will be replaced with helical piles. And this looks like I have no issues. Does anyone else? I then move that we vote to approve the replacement of 2 footings. It's with helical piles, not, is it helical piles or sonotubes?
Helical piles.
Helical piles. And reconstruct the existing porch as de minimis. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And next up, we have on Furnace Brook, again, replacing footings on a deck. Oh,
It's my mistake.
okay, nope, that's all right. This is, I believe, Ned, you are here to address the benches and bog bridges at Furnace Brook Trails.
Yes,
Do you want to explain?
sure. So, the Furnace Brook Watershed Trail system there, we're breaking it into 2 parts. Phase 1 will be working on the trail. There are 5 bog bridges. Basically, they're 12 feet long, 3 feet wide, and that have, the picture that you see on the right of the bog bridge is actually at the John Little conservation area, and that one is in great shape, doesn't need any work on it. The ones at the Furnace Brook are pretty much worn out. They're tipping, they're a tripping hazard now, how they're geared, and they need to be replaced. There are 5 of them. 4 are 12 feet, the distance is 12 feet long, 3 feet wide. 1 is 6 feet long, 3 feet wide. And there are several benches As you see in the picture there, that one is in good shape. There are several that are missing the bench to sit on. So we're looking to add the boards to sit on. There won't be any backrest or anything like that. It will be just as that picture indicates, rustic. We have volunteers from the NEMBA, New England Mountain Bike Association, Friends of Wampatuck State Park, several recreation trail ambassadors that have built bog bridges previously and have secured tops to benches previously. We would look to use hand tools, power drills, that sort to replace, secure, and funding has been secured as well. Some of the funds will be from the event that you folks were nice enough to approve back in a while back for a mountain bike race that we had in October. And we had $700 remaining after that, the balance, and that's been put into our contributions and gifts account that we have through the Recreation Trails Committee. And so some of the funds will come from that, some will come from Friends of Wampatuck materials.
Okay.
As far as the time frame goes, we would look to, if it's approved, we'd look to sometime after the first of the year when the weather is good, to get out there and probably build a section at a time. Phase 2, I know, is just to bring you up to speed, is relocating the entrance, the trailhead, from 3A to St. Christine's parking lot. St. Christine's wants to partner with us, the Recreation Trails Committee, to create a safer access to the trail. And also, we're looking to put in a footbridge, bog boards, and 2 loop trails. And we're working with Jason Zimmer currently to finish up our NOI. When that's completed, we'll hand it off to Michael and then look to come back to it at a future time.
Okay. Anyone have any questions, or in that case, I move that we vote to approve the repair of 3 benches and the replacement of the 4 bog bridges at the Furnace Brook Trails as a de minimis activity. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for
Okay,
your help.
thank
We
you.
appreciate that.
Okay, 225 Bay Avenue. This is a retaining wall deviation. Commissioner Good is recusing. Do you have anything to say on this, Mike, or is there anyone here to address this?
Is there anybody out in the Zoom world to address this one? So I talked to the applicant, Steve Howley. He'd like to make some deviations to the retaining wall, and he's talking to his engineer about redesigning that, and may require 2 approvals from his abutters there as well. But I suppose more to come. Last time I spoke to him, he was trying to line up a date where he could receive the plans by.
Okay, so I think we need to see the plans before we can vote on this.
Okay.
So I would suggest we table until such time as he has the plans. So, may I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Commissioner Good is returning. Next up, we have 47 Foster Avenue. This is a pergola. The homeowner wants to install a 120 square foot pergola on diamond pier footings. We're in Barrier Beach.
These are the plans here. The limit of land subject to coast storm flowage ends in the front of the property. So this is not in land subject to coast storm flowage, and it would be on diamond pier footings.
And can you just show me exactly where it is on here?
So this would be the proposed area here, and then these white highlights supposed to capture the diamond pier footings.
And that's not in land subject to, that's not in any flood?
It's just out of flood.
Okay.
Barrier Beach.
Any commissioner comment?
And subject to building commission.
Building commission approval, yeah.
I can double check on the land subject to coast storm flowage now if you'd like.
That's okay, because it's gonna have to be subject to,
Right.
Yeah,
all
that'll be
required,
kind of a
right.
second check on it.
yeah. So, I move that we vote to approve the construction of a pergola as a de minimis. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Plymouth Avenue DPW emergency certification for flooding. Are you here to address this?
I'll be listening because I know Mike has had extensive conversation with Tom.
Okay, and I know Rod has,
That carried up in Maine.
So the DPW is requesting emergency certification and permission to resolve a flood issue on Plymouth Ave, specifically around the 301 Plymouth Ave, and poses a risk to motorists going up and down the avenue. The road is flooded and at times covered with ice given the cold conditions, creating hazardous driving conditions. The vegetation has overtaken the ditches that drain the area, causing stormwater to back up. The house at 307 Plymouth Avenue is also flooded, causing an unsafe structural and sanitary condition. The DPW plans on working with airport personnel and Plymouth County Mosquito Control to help clean the ditches with their amphibious excavator. The work to relieve this flooding will commence the week of January 9th, according to town engineer Rod Procaccino. And the work will be confined to resolving the flooding issue on Plymouth Avenue.
can you put up the,
Yes, my apologies.
just so that everyone can see what is happening down
NOI, as discussed last meeting, will be filed to make a more permanent solution in the future, but this is to resolve the immediate floodwater issue.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
know that going
accurate?
forward, there's a bigger plan, but,
And now, I will comment that last night at our board meeting, we directed the engineering staff and superintendent to put together, basically continue to try to maintain drainage ditches, and get an annual cost and that sort of thing, and also the piping,
right,
permanent piping. I know that Mr. Pesovich made the comment about being concerned on, taking the moisture away from the area, but that can be resolved with a piping system simply by perforating like the upper 90 degrees of the pipe itself. When you install the piping, if it's by a conventional ditch type of operation, and just cover over that space with geotech fabric that would exclude silt from getting in from the exterior of the pipe, but allow the water to perk out. It's a solution I've used in another life in another place. When I worked for Public Service Electric and Gas down in New Jersey, in a wetland area off of the Hackensack River tributary called the Overpeck Creek. We did a directional drilling that would require something different, but you can have pipe that has that type of prefabricated in. Part of the reason we're doing this is so we have, for presentation purposes, status quo ante, so to speak, costs versus, an engineering solution that doesn't require going in on a periodic basis to clear vegetation and silt and stuff. Now, of course, all of these right now we're talking about would try to modify going forward to have like a 4-bay area right in the roadway so that we can catch as much sediment and silt as possible rather than having it downstream.
well, when you come in, with the NOI for
Yep.
the full project, I'm sure you can explain to Mr. Pachevich what your intentions are.
Yeah.
Chairman.
That may or may not matter, but we will.
Right.
Also indicate that this is being coordinated to some extent with the airport.
The airport.
Commission, using the Marsh Master.
Correct.
Dredging some of these ditches, and we're gonna try and work this in. I can't promise it, but we're gonna try and work it into the VMP as well as an ongoing maintenance for Bass Creek. So
Okay,
we're working with Rod on that.
multi-pronged solution, hopefully. Okay, any commissioner comment? Mike?
And if I may add to the motion, vote to approve the emergency certification beginning 1/9/2022
Mhm.
or earlier, as indicated by DPW staff.
Okay.
In case something
Right,
frees
we
up.
don't want to
Yeah,
eat into their 30-day.
Exactly.
Okay. I move that we vote to approve the emergency certification for this work beginning on January 9th, 2023, or earlier, per DPW direction. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, continuations. 274 Foster Ave, SE 422958.
Should be 1/4.
Vote to continue to 1/4/2023. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1203 Ferry Street, SE 422988. Vote to continue to the 1/4/2023 meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 60 Foster Ave, SE 42. Do we have the full number on that?
For 60 Foster, yes, it's SE 423015.
3015. I move that we vote to continue this to the January 18th meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1184 Ferry Street, SE 422987. I move that we vote to continue this to the January 18th, 2023 meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. And 17 Oregon Road, SE 422990. I move that we vote to continue to the January 4th, 2023 meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now on to public hearings. This is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, December 21st, 2022, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Frank Powell at 14 Olympia Road. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Dodge, making his debut as a hearing officer.
All right, so I guess we're gonna confirm the taxes, Mike. Is that all?
Yep.
All's good with
Taxes
the
have been
taxes?
confirmed.
All right, and this is gonna be, we did all the abutters notifications and all that's all set.
Yep, the RDAs do not need abutters, so
I
that's
just
all
noticed
fine.
down here, it says the RDA or NOI is proposed work down here in the comments, so.
Okay.
But anyways, it's gonna be resource VE flood zone. It's a single-family home with a proposed project of doing a generator stand with diamond piers. I met with Ms. Cecilia on the project. It seems to be in a proper location. I did notice that the seawall is rather close. Do you have any comments on that? I don't.
Yeah, it's within buffer zone to coastal beach, but there's a seawall in between the home and the beach, so no real impact is predicted there.
So I guess if Mr. Powell isn't here to speak on the project. or anyone to represent?
I'm here. My name is Alex. I represent the company that will be installing the generator.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to add?
No, I just wanted to I appreciate being part of this, and we're following all the requirements from Diamond Pierce to the location to the depth, with taking into consideration all the setbacks and all the appropriate laws for the town.
Awesome. All right, and I guess at this time, I'm going to open up to anyone else in the public or via Zoom. Not hearing anyone. I guess I'd like to make a positive determination, -5, with number 2, special conditions. All in favor, I guess?
Yep.
Back to the board.
We need a second? Well,
I will second it.
okay. All in, aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
I just want to say to Alex, make sure you have checked in with the building department.
Absolutely, thank you. We have already.
It sounded like you had. I just point that out to everyone. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Chair Hannafin, the next one should be continued,
Yes.
per the applicant's request.
Oh, yeah, thank you. 56 Gilbert Street, SE 423017.
3017.
This was a failure to reach one abutter, so the hearing officer is Susan. Do you want to move to continue it?
Yes, I'll make a move to continue.
Actually,
56
let me, I'll open it first.
Should we open, actually, I was asking,
Oh,
did we open?
we don't have the,
Without the
Yeah,
abutter,
without
can we
the
open it?
abutter.
I don't know.
Sure.
Does it matter?
protocol on that is.
I don't know.
I think you can.
Open and
as long as you
Yeah,
note
open and
that it is-
continue.
As long as you note that you have to notify the abutter,
Right.
that's the reason you're continuing it.
Okay, so I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, December 21st, 2022, to consider the notice of intent filed by Karen Donahue, Roop of 56 Gilbert Street. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
So, as confirmed by Michael Seeley, we cannot open the hearing because we're missing one abutter notification. And the representative is aware of that, and we're gonna continue. Do we
Yes,
have a
for-
date certain, or should we?
The January 4th
The
meeting
January
will
4th.
suffice.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we continue 56 Gilbert Street to January 4th, while the representative contacts the final abutter.
Yes.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay. Next up, also a new hearing. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, December 21st, 2022, to consider the notice of intent filed by Donald and Paula Dickinson of 938 Summer Street. And the hearing officer is Commissioner John O'Donnell.
Thank you. Michael, I see on the form taxes, fees, and utilities are up to date,
Yes, they are.
and abutters have been notified?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience or on Zoom who would like to speak to this project? I see
Brendan Sullivan, Merrill
Okay.
Associates.
Okay, Brendan, yeah, why don't you take it away?
Sure, thank you. For the record, Brendan Sullivan with Merrill Associates, representing the Dickinsons at 938 Summer Street. The property is approximately over 1,000 feet long driveway down to the North River. They border on the North River, although that's not the resource area we're in. There's a border and vegetated wetland on the upland side of the house. So this is but this is for a pool house that we are reconstructing, basically within the same footprint. We're expanding the footprint a little bit for some stairs access to get to the second floor. The existing footprint is approximately 985 square feet. Replacing with approximately 1,130 square feet. 645 square feet of that is within the 100-foot buffer. So there's about 115 square foot increase within the 100-foot buffer. All the work is outside the 50-foot buffer, and that's really about it. I think there was one question about there will be there's going to be a full foundation. We are taking out the old foundation. We're putting the new full foundation for storage underneath.
Okay, but essentially the same footprint for all intents and purposes, right?
Yes, yeah, and it's going to be tied into a new septic system which has been recently approved as recently as last week from Board of Health.
Okay. So the property is not located in land subject to coastal storm flowage or within 200 feet of the riverfront area.
The property is, but the project is
I
not.
meant the project, yep, sorry about that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And also, the proposed work is located within the National Heritage and Endangered Species Program, Habitat and Rare Wildlife and Rare Species. But that notification has been sent out, correct?
Yes, it has.
Okay. And you also, silt socks are proposed around the
Yes.
work? I think you can see them on the schematic, correct?
Yeah, it shows a hay bale line, but yeah, it's going to be a silt sock.
Okay. Michael and Susan and I visited the property last week. We walked around. I think the submission you sent in and the way you described it, I think, is consistent with what our findings were. So I'll open it up. Are there anybody on Zoom or in the audience who has any questions or comments? Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments? Okay. So we have some special conditions, Mike. You want to read the special conditions?
Yep. The special conditions suggested would be the standard special conditions and also an insert under D2, ensuring that erosion control is in place and do not use hay. It may introduce invasive plant species to wetlands and setbacks, and it shall secure the construction site from intrusion into the wetlands.
Okay. So if that's the case, I make a motion. Do we have any motion to close issue with special conditions? Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you, appreciate it.
No problem.
Have a good holiday.
It's a heck of a property.
It's beautiful, yeah.
Glad I don't have to cut the grass.
Okay. Next up is 20 Dog Lane, SE 423002. This is a continued hearing, and the hearing officer is Commissioner Bert O'Donnell, Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Yeah, I see John Zimmer out there. Are you hearing us, John?
Yes, I am.
Okay, got you loud and clear. I see the
Okay,
site.
well, you want me to just give you an update as to where we're at?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so subsequent to the last hearing, a couple things have happened. We had a site walk out there with some of the commission members and reviewed the location of the house as well as the 50 and 75-foot buffers. We also looked at the trees that I had flagged that were within close proximity to the 50-foot setback. And then we had continued the hearing to allow the applicant to go in front of the ZBA requesting a variance to move the house forward, which would be within the side lot setbacks. The ZBA had a hearing last week and basically said to go back, they said to go back to conservation because they were not going to entertain the variance until they knew that there was a project that could be built within the property without the variance. So what we're asking for tonight is for the commission to consider the project as proposed in the notice of intent, which meets the performance standards of the bylaw. No work within 50 feet, no structures within 75 feet. A couple of the issues that arose during the last hearing in the site walk was the steepness of the slope heading down towards the 50-foot buffer. And I'd just like to reiterate that we're not going to be cutting into the slope between the 75 and the 50. It would be some fill that would be brought in to create the lawn behind the house. The house would be put on what's called a double foundation. So it would basically start at grade and go up 2 stories from grade. So we wouldn't need to really do any major excavation into the slope that would create any instability issues. A couple of the other things that I spoke with the applicant about and they were amenable to was, number one, to use a reinforced silt fence, which is basically a silt fence that has a wire backing, which gives it a little more strength than a standard silt sock or a silt fence. And if the commission would like, he was also agreeable to have a monitoring program put into the order of conditions where myself or another qualified individual would visit the site, on a weekly basis to ensure that there's no encroachment into the 50-foot buffer from the work that's being proposed. So basically trying to put the belt and suspenders on there to alleviate the concerns that the commission had with respect to the slope. Should the commission approve the project and issue an order of conditions, we will go back to ZBA and request that variance. If ZBA does in fact grant a variance, then we would come back to the commission with a request for an amendment to the order to relocate the house basically outside the 100-foot buffer. But that's kind of where we're at right now. So I would open it up to any questions that you may have.
Okay, first one I have, John, I'm a little confused about the site plans. The one we've got up on the screen is from April 5th. Didn't we have subsequent plans, in August and September?
Yeah, but I believe there was another plan that showed those, the ZBA circles that were on there. Well, that one's revised in September, so.
Okay, well, this one doesn't show the circles.
We never received that at conservation. The last thing we received was August 31st.
Okay, well then maybe I was mistaken then. So I think you are looking at the plan of record then if it was updated in September.
I have the it's on the drive, September one.
Okay, because this one in front of us right now, in case unless I'm missing it, it doesn't even say that this is your wetlands delineation, John. Do we have it anywhere?
Right, it's from the September 13th.
The
No, this is the,
Right there, at the bottom, yes,
one
it
with the
does show
most
it.
recent revision of September
septic
13th
plot,
is the one
really.
on the screen.
Right.
and that's all we've ever,
Yeah, so have we got anything more
This is
recent there, Mike? I
received
thought we
September
had one from
15th.
September.
The one from
that in
the
here?
last revision of September 13th, 2022 is the one on the screen. I can try to pull it up off of the Google Drive right now.
Yeah, I'd have to say, is that the?
Oh, okay, so just scroll down, Mike, just show, does it show the rev?
It does say March 22 by South
Okay,
River.
okay, September.
Right, so if you go to the bottom of the plan, Mike.
Yeah, I have
In
to.
the middle, there's a note there, wetland delineation by South River Environmental.
Underneath
Okay,
the
now
stamp.
I see that. Thank you, John. But I did watch the ZBA hearing, and a big part of their concern was that circle, the for the location of the house, and that's not shown here. So, don't we want to approve the same plan that they're gonna see?
Well, I mean, basically, what you saw, what was submitted to ZBA was the plan for the variance. So,
But
that's why they asked us to come back here.
and they want to see it with the circle on there. I mean, basically, from what I understood, they wanted to see how that house was going to fit within the circle, which is what you've talked about a number of times, that it would fit within the circle. It would just have to be a smaller house. Does this house on the plan here fit within the circle?
I am not 100% sure if it does or not. I believe it does, but like I said, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to go into another board's jurisdiction, but I just want to make sure if we approve a plan, it's the same plan that they're going to wind up seeing and acting on.
Well, I think that's the catch-22 here, because if you approve this plan, then we would go back with the variance request, and if the variance request was denied, then we would just default back to this, so there would be no ZBA approval.
So that's
It was supposed to-
assuming,
it was
that's
supposed to be
assuming
permit.
that the house depicting here is completely within that circle, right?
Well, yeah. But I guess that would be highlighted at the building permit stage.
Well, going back to your speaking about the monitoring, I think that is a good idea. I think, everybody has recognized that this, explain a little more about bringing in additional loam into between the 50 and the 75 for lawn creation.
Right, so, excuse me, around the base of the foundation, there would need to be some fill brought in to make a level lawn, rather than going straight into a slope. It's gonna be a walkout basement, so they would need to level, part of that grade. You can see the proposed contours. So it looks like from the 70, it's gonna go up to a 74, and then taper back down from there. So it looks like they're gonna have to build it up, maybe around 4 feet to bring it back up to the foundation, to have that small space of usable lawn. And then they would taper it back to the 72 to the 70.
I'd like to open up for questions and comments from the other commissioners. Anything?
I am concerned, once again, about the slope, and there are at least, I think, 3 large oaks right along the 75. I believe those are playing an active role in the stability of that slope, and if they are going to be removed, which I think they would have to be, given this plan, this building plan, I would propose that we would condition this to have those trees remain. And I believe that 505-103.3 allows us to consider the impacts of this, even though they may technically be on or behind the 75.
I think if we leave those trees, it basically kills the project. Those trees would need to be removed for the siting of the house and the driveway.
Well, I am very concerned about the removal of those trees.
Washes down the hill.
They are putting a lot of stability in their root systems. So that would be my comment.
Madam Chair, at one point, there was concern about the dimensions of the proposed property actually fitting in the drawing for this project. Were those questions resolved?
I don't think they've been resolved. You know, there's lots of different plans
Yeah.
floating around on this, and it's confusing.
What
So
was
what-
the question on the dimensions of the property? I guess I don't understand the question.
As I remember, and that was part of the question is to verify, as I remember, there was some question about whether all of the proposed work could fit in within the 75. And I don't remember if it was answered at all.
I believe that was resolved since the wetland boundary was confirmed, so that 75 would be accurate on site plan.
I think what Joe was referring to, there was some questions about the measurements, but the fact that it's stamped by a registered engineer,
That helps the issue.
I tend to think so, I'm not sure.
But the engineer
I mean,
missed
it's-
things on my property that had been there for 40 years when he came and did his site drawing.
Well, I'm not sure go ahead, John.
That's his professional stamp on there. I mean, that's basically a legal document.
Yeah.
John, was it you that was out there,
I went out there back in September with Mike and Bill, and I think it was prior to the presentation, the first presentation in September, and, or the presentation in September, I don't know if it was the first or not. And a lot of the concern was the slope. And I was just looking at my notes here to try to remember some of the questions that came up, but I think there was a group that went out to the site that I wasn't able to attend that looked at it, but I think a lot of the concern was just Bill's concern was just, erosion and wash down the hill when you cut the vegetation, which maybe gets to the trees, and I don't know how you prevent or, in this case, how you can predict erosion would happen, if, they went forward with the plans as proposed, and how you protect against the erosion if you went forward with the plans. I know Bill also raised a lot, he didn't think a retaining wall was something that they wanted, to consider either. But, I'm going back now 4 months in my memory.
There's nothing, nothing proposed on that. I recall all those questions about the measurements, but it
Yeah.
seemed like, I thought that got verified.
I think they went out, and I thought the plan was to remark some of the, for some of the,
Yeah, and then.
some of the length from the buffer zone, I think, because I think that's,
Yeah, and then that
that happened.
that subsequent visit, Mike and Craig and Susan and myself were all there, and, I share the concern that Craig has with those big oaks.
Bert, could I comment as well?
Sure.
I agree with you that
It's a hypothetical right now, like the commissioner was saying. It's on the applicant to make sure that the erosion controls are up and functioning and that the site is stable. And if it gets to a point where it's not, then the commission has remedies to handle that. But having a monitor, having reinforced silk fence out there, you know, whatever other conditions that the commission may need to put in there. I mean, aside from having those trees stay in, I mean, I believe the plan as proposed would protect the buffer zone, certainly protect the wetland. And I think that we can build in conditions as the commission needs to ensure that.
Susan, your thought?
Well, I guess I share your concerns, both Craig and yours, about the trees, and the impact of those trees being gone might not be immediately, it may happen over time. So I guess that's what my concern is, that those root systems that are under there that may not die right away, but could die later. So how do you control for that? It's a steep slope, and those trees, I agree, they have to be playing a role in keeping that wetland from erosion. I guess seen too much erosion in situations like this to not give serious consideration to this, as difficult as it is.
Yeah, that's a pretty steep yard, and if you take away those trees and you put the mitigations that John's proposed, those are during the construction project, and then X number of time units down the road, that tree is going to no longer provide the protection.
But there could be other trees planted, the site will be stabilized, it won't get a certificate of compliance unless it's stabilized. And I don't know that you can govern based on hypotheticals some unit at a time down the road. I mean, it's kind of a, I guess for this site, it's a slippery slope, but, you know,
No pun
I
intended.
No pun.
against.
Well, you're gonna have the conservation markers, and, I mean, we should say at the outset that we would issue an enforcement order if anything happens beyond those conservation markers, now or in the future.
Yeah. Absolutely, and if you did condition monitoring, if there was an issue, you would know about it, you know, almost immediately.
If all those trees need to be removed, can you suggest a planting plan that would help stabilize what's there?
Yeah, and then, excuse me, we had talked about that at the last hearing. I mean, the applicant's willing to put in trees along that 50-foot buffer, you know, and, you know, some size to them as well, not, you know, 2 to 3 foot, you know, but more in the line of 4 to 6 foot or maybe larger along that line to help, you know, number one, ensure that line's demarcated, but to help stabilize that interface where the 50-foot buffer is.
And those existing large trees, are you sure they all have to go?
I'm not 100% sure. You know, I don't know, they're not located on the site plan, so I don't know exactly where they fall with respect to the house and the garage and the driveway, but just looking at the build out from the 75 to the 100, I mean, unless they're situated on the sides, I think that they would likely have to go. You know, and then if they did stay, they would potentially become hazard trees at some point.
What do you think, Craig?
I think it would be helpful to have a plan with the building circle and with the trees. So we really understand, you know, we're all looking at different pieces here, and I too watched the ZBA hearing, and they're looking at, you know, something that we don't see, and I realize we have separate jurisdictions, but given what the issues are here between us and, you know, ZBA going back and forth, I would be more comfortable with a plan, with the building circle and with the trees on it.
And designate which trees have to will come down.
Right, well, if we get the
If it's
trees
in-
on here and this is the house,
You'll know.
We'll
Okay,
know.
yep.
Yeah.
question.
Sure, Susan.
Is this an instance where a third-party review of that slope and the proper way to vegetate it, to protect it, is warranted? Since we're all struggling with something else, I don't know the answer to that, I'm just raising it as a possibility.
So a planting plan?
So planting plan
We're
as
sort
well.
of looking for the same thing, whether
Yeah.
we can satisfy
I
that.
think that's what you
with,
need, those two things.
If I may, jute netting would also be a good form of erosion control, considering the slope. It's like a burlap netting that covers the slope and prevents erosion during construction.
What would that be, Mike?
Jute netting.
Okay, is that what, John, you
Is
talked
jute
about,
netting or an erosion control blanket?
is that what
Yep.
you suggested? You talked about some enhanced erosion control, right?
Oh, what I had talked about was wire-backed silk fence, which gives it more rigidity. But I think that, Mike's point about, potentially putting down some erosion control fabric on the slope, either during construction, certainly right after construction as we get towards final stabilization. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we've all recognized that this is pretty sensitive. I think the idea for you to come back with everything laid out a little clearer, with the planting plan, with the location of the existing trees, and also that building circle that ZBA wants. I think if we're gonna approve a plan that's gonna go to them, we should see the plan that's gonna go to them. There's been various versions flying around, and we want to be on the same page. Does that all sound
Okay,
reasonable?
well, yeah. I mean, we can get you all that information, but like I said, if, we would have the approved plan, what would go back into ZBA would be, the approved plan, because we're not going to go back to ZBA until we're finished with conservation. Or, I guess I can't say that for certain, but would be the approved plan and then the variance plan. So what we would do is take this plan that we're doing for you guys for the next hearing, get that submitted to ZBA to show them that there is a project that does fit within their buildable circle, and then we could still have the variance plan in front of them as well, so that way everybody would be on the same page.
That sound acceptable to everybody?
Yes.
In that case, I'd like to open it up for
Okay, sorry.
public comments.
I just have a couple of questions. John mentioned Phil. My name is William Finn, 96 Dog Lane. John mentioned Phil. How much fill is coming in, and how's it going to be stabilized? And what kind of a slope is the fill being put on?
Did you hear that, John?
Yeah, the fill would be brought in at the rear of the house, and it would basically level out and then grade back down to the 50-foot buffer. The amount of fill, I don't know the exact square footage. I can see if I can get, or cubic yards, I'm sorry. I can see if I can get an estimate for you on that.
Yeah.
But it would be stabilized, after it was brought in, it would be stabilized temporarily with an annual ride or vegetation like that, and then post-construction, it's going to be stabilized with lawn, so it's going to be vegetated, and then there'll be, some plantings down along the 50-foot buffer.
I would think that if you're gonna do a stabilization program and a monitoring program and gear the stabilization program to post-construction as well as during construction, that you'd want some details on how that fill is gonna be stabilized, along with the planting plan, the stabilization of the fill, quantity of the fill, type of fill, ought to be detailed for you as well.
Were you able to hear all that, John?
Yes, I did.
I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
So I think with those requested changes, we can make a motion to continue. When would you want to come back, John?
I would say the 18th. I don't think there's any way with the holidays that we're going to get anything back into you,
Okay.
you know, by Wednesday of next week.
Oh, so January 18th?
Yes, please.
So I'd make a motion to continue to January 18th. Have I got a second?
Second?
Second, Susan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, John.
Thanks,
All right, thanks very
John.
much. Happy holidays, everyone.
You too.
You too.
Okay. Next, we have 21 Olympia Road, SE 42 3007. We have a written request to withdraw this notice of intent without prejudice. So I move that we vote to approve the removal of this NOI without prejudice. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we are on to certificates of compliance. First up is SE 42 2915, 10 South Street. The walls with flood vents have been removed along with the screening. The floor materials are pervious. The building commissioner indicated that other items that are sitting below the home are permissible. The original proposed vinyl fencing has been replaced with fencing, wire, and wood, which the building commissioner has also indicated was fine. So, did you look at the site, Mike?
Yes, I went out there. The enclosure that was in question, that was in front of the commission a few months ago, had been removed. The other objects below the home, I talked to the building commissioner about that, and he indicated that since they weren't actually attached to the home, it wasn't that of a large concern. I have images that there was an issue uploading photos to my computer today.
Okay.
I apologize for that. But everything down there is like kind of palletized, like it's on pallets or on a pallet-like structure. There's no impervious material. The shower that was below there remained. That was existing before they elevated the home, and that has a pervious flooring as well.
Any comments from anyone, since we had this before us earlier and there were some issues?
Is Mr. Cutter out there?
Nope, I guess not.
Indicated he would be, so I was just asking.
Well, if they have removed the walls and the materials under the floor, under the house are pervious, and they have replaced the fencing or have another option for the fencing, I move that we vote to issue a certificate of compliance. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, SE 420236. Number 1 Union Street, 330 Oak Street. This is the self-storage facility that's right on the Pembroke-Marshfield line. And the wetlands move into Marshfield. There was a road permitted to go into the North River Church. It appears that everything is in accordance with the permit, and you looked at the site, Mike, and confirmed that the wetlands are not being encroached upon, and
Yes.
it's just a very tiny little sliver where that road swings into Marshfield, so. I move that we vote to issue a certificate of compliance. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, SE 42 2692, 1210 South River Street. We have a successful planting plan, and all conservation markers are in place. The planting area is well vegetated. So did you go do a site visit there, Mike?
I did a site visit. All of the conservation markers were in place. The planting plan, the plants were in good health. As mentioned in the report, there was some evidence of grazing by deer, but nothing significant. And the plants that looked like they had been grazed on had new buds, and you could see that there was some growth.
Okay. Then I move that we vote to issue a certificate of compliance. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sure, process.
SE 421074, 36 Old Ocean Street. Okay, we haven't had any additional
No
resolution
updates on
on this
that.
one? Okay, we have some discrepancies here. So I'm going to move that we vote to table this to January 18th, 2023, to allow the applicant time to resolve these issues. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. SE 42-1500, 71 Constellation Road. This is that HVAC unit that needs to be improved upon. So I move that we vote to table to January 18th, 2023. May I have a second?
Second.
Joe Ring.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 13 South Street. So I have a letter from Attorney Baird, who cannot be here tonight, but he has suggested, I will read this in. Regarding the matter at hand, the parties would like to propose that the mud floor be broken into pieces and left in place. From there, our contractor will communicate with Andrew Stewart to ensure the sufficient amount of gravel be put in place to bring everything into compliance with local building and floodplain regulations. I believe this would make the floor permeable, as is the Commission's chief concern. If the Commission is in agreement with this proposal, the parties will engage their contractor to begin work. Any discussion? I had actually spoken with town council this afternoon, and he had a similar suggestion that they simply, we didn't discuss breaking the mud floor up, but he said just take the mud floor, just get it out and bring the gravel in, and we're done. And we could authorize the gravel, but if this seems to work with Andrew and the parties involved, does anybody see?
Potential question about how much breakup. If they're gonna crack
Right.
it twice,
Yeah,
that's
that
not
would,
enough.
I'm inclined to say we're getting there, but I agree.
Because you wanna make sure there's adequate drainage, that's the principle.
Right.
If it won't drain, because you didn't crack it enough, and you put the gravel on top, it's still not gonna drain.
It's still not gonna drain.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe, I missed your,
We don't know how much they're going to crack that mud
yeah.
foundation so that it drains. And
So you
the
need-
principle is to make sure that there's enough breakup,
Yeah.
and I don't know how to characterize that and be respectful for both sides.
Have it cracked to roughly the same size as the gravel being put into the basement.
My only concern there would be, because it's this mud slab, is it going to reconstitute? Does it have the ability to reconstitute?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know that answer.
They're still gonna have flood vents, correct?
Well, they're going to have to bring, when this was constructed, the basement, this underlayer here, was dug down deeper than it was permitted to be.
Right.
And that never got caught, and so you have this. That's why they want to bring the level up, but I believe the flood vents will remain because they're talking about, what, 15 to 18 inches of gravel? So that looks like it's coming
It'll
up
bring it up to that level.
even with the flood vents.
I think, don't they usually say compatible fill when it's brought in?
Yes.
So this rubble that's broken up, that would have to qualify as compatible fill, right?
Compatible
Which
fill.
would mean it would be broken up enough, and I'm not an expert, but I don't think, once concrete is hardened,
It
I
can,
don't
yeah,
think
I
it's-
don't,
I don't think it's gonna go back into,
Mr. Finn?
Could you substitute the word crushed for cracked? Crushed in its entirety,
So the words are broken into pieces.
crushed.
I think the only thing we're debating is how small.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but crushed is better than cracked.
Yeah, well, Attorney Baird said the mud floor will be broken into pieces. So, yeah, we need something more
So real-
specific than that.
But doesn't it come down to a performance standard that water has to drain
Yeah.
through,
Yeah.
through the broken pieces in the layer of crushed stone at a certain rate? So it's a performance standard. However you get to the performance standard, that's what matters, whether it's crushed or broken or removed or whatever.
and do we leave that to the building commissioner?
I don't know the answer, I'm just trying to frame the question
No,
in such a way.
I
yeah.
didn't mean to jump on you.
No,
but-
you're not jumping on me, I'm just,
I think that's an engineering type question that probably not in our scope.
Yeah.
But
So the building commissioner could handle it.
So,
so how,
If it has to be compatible fill, and they're bringing in gravel, it seems to me that, if you said something like crushed, as opposed to just cracked or broken into pieces. I mean, pieces could be, this big, nobody knows what it is.
so isn't the issue is they don't want to remove.
Right.
they don't want
They don't want to
to
remove
lug it
this.
out of there.
So now what they're saying is we're gonna break it into pieces. But at the end of the day, it's still about water.
Right, exactly.
so if we said it was broken into pieces such that it provided adequate drainage in the basement, that gets away from, the definitions of size.
Is this the same project that they offered to have an engineer come in and put a drain in as well? If I recall
I
correctly.
think that was one of their
options.
requests. Well, I'm willing to let them go forward with this, but yeah, we need to specify how broken up that is. And does that go to Andrew Stewart? I mean, can we say, fine, go ahead, pulverize it, jackhammer, whatever, but it has to meet pervious standards for a floodplain?
Say broken up to the satisfaction of the building commissioner, the floodplain administrator.
I'd be inclined to that.
I could go with that. So long as it provides adequate drainage.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right, we're not in the position of deciding what crushed is or broken up or what's gonna provide adequate, but he would be, you just want it to be compatible fill, compatible with the stuff that's coming in, let him decide. So crack to broken up, or whatever you wanna say,
So,
to
we-
the satisfaction of the building commission.
so we have a potential solution here. So I move that we vote to let the applicant proceed with breaking up the floor and bringing in compatible fill. How do we get Andrew in here?
Oh, it says he's gonna communicate with Andrew.
So, yeah, the following sentence is,
Right,
we'll work with Andy to ensure a sufficient amount of gravel be put in place to bring everything into compliance with local building and floodplain regulations.
So it
Okay.
seems like he's actively involved.
yes, so I'm gonna say, I move that we vote to allow the applicant to break up the mud floor and bring in compatible fill while communicating with Andrew Stewart, building commissioner and floodplain manager, to ensure that the breakup of the floor and the gravel is compatible fill.
I've just received comments from the building commissioner.
Oh,
Building Commissioner Andrew Stewart just indicated that the commission should decide how they want to break it up, not him. The floodplain and building code regulations don't need it broken up.
What was that last thing?
The floodplain and building code regulations do not need it broken up.
Do not need it broken up.
It's conservation's rule that has
that
drainage.
has, yeah.
Yeah.
He also indicated that his department just needs it elevated to the level of the outside grade. Thank you for the timely response, Andrew.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. Is there any drainage in there now?
Not that I've noticed or observed.
I think that was an original question. Was this mud slab permeable? I think there was like sort of a discussion about whether it was or wasn't, and
Right.
some people interpreted it as being permeable. So
So therefore, so what, as I try to catch up, I think next to the doc from last meeting, this has been the second longest legacy, project in my 6 months here. So it's our requirement that the basement be
Pervious.
permeable.
The orders of conditions specified no impervious
Impervious,
material
yeah.
under the house.
So therefore.
It
so-
had to be open, yeah,
And that's the Conservation Commission, not the Building Commission.
correct.
So therefore, they, I guess what I'm interpreting, I'm trying to, that Andrew's saying we're the ones who decide that the proposal meets the pervious requirement.
Right, the slab is our problem.
Yep.
The grade is his problem.
So I guess, so our question is, we're okay with this solution as long as it's pervious.
So long as it's broken up to provide adequate drainage.
Drainage.
Yeah.
can we just have them break it up, provide some, pictures of it broken up to our satisfaction, and
Yeah.
then fill it with the gravel
Right.
as like a two-stage?
Go in with a jackhammer or whatever they do,
As long
yeah.
as everyone's happy with it, then they can fill it.
While they are breaking it up into that level, they might just choose to remove it at that point as well.
They really don't want to remove
I
it.
doubt they want to remove it, because then they're gonna have to fill it back in, and they're gonna haul it up from that small space.
Yeah.
If it were mine, I'd want to break it up into little pieces and
Yeah.
make it gravel-like or boulder-like,
Right.
Yeah, so really, our challenge here is, what do they mean by broken into pieces? Because broken into pieces could be, that now has got
Yeah.
four, cracks.
Four big
With four
cracks.
big pieces, which is not making it
I'm sure they could
Previous.
take an air chisel and just drill holes in it.
Yeah.
And then send us photos if they'd like. I know this has been going on for quite some time.
No, I agree with you. I'd like to move this one off the table.
Oh, absolutely.
I think everyone would, so.
If I may, the
why
building
don't you do-
commissioner also recommended that if they were to break it up, a good size would be 4 to 6 inches in diameter.
Oh, there you go.
Right there.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. I like that
That is
All
answer
right, so
too.
where we go?
That does it for me.
So, all right. I move that we vote to allow the applicant to break the slab into approximately 4 by 6 inch pieces, and subsequent to that, fill to grade level with compatible fill. I would further add that the conservation administrator be notified after or while the breakup is taking place, just to confirm that it meets our requirement. Anyone else want to amend that or add anything, or?
Would second it.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Let's hope that puts that one to bed. All right. Do you have that motion, Mike? Do you want me to give you a minute, or?
Yes, it was vote to allow them to break up the mud slab into 4 to 6 inch diameter pieces and fill with comparable material, and also notify the conservation administrator to verify the condition of the subsurface there, the mud slab.
Okay.
Perfect.
SE 422773. This is another long-standing sticky wicket, but I'm going to vote to table to 1/18/23. May I have a second?
Second.
Oh my, is that it?
Like no enforcement orders.
We have no enforcement?
I like that too.
All right, I move that we close the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting of December 21st, 2022. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.